I'm Marianne Hendren, the CEO of Women's Health Grampians and the chair of the Grampians CoRE Alliance. So I'm immensely proud and delighted to be here today to help to launch the second CoRE strategy. Before I go any further, I'd really like to introduce a special guest we have with us today, Dr. Deanne Gilson. Deanne is a proud Wadawurrung woman. She's an award-winning multimedia visual artist with a practice spanning 35 years. Deanne is the daughter of Auntie Marlene Gilson, also a painter with her own award-winning art practice. Deanne has completed a PhD looking at the objectification of Aboriginal women by the male colonial gaze and how this has affected Aboriginal women and what was known as traditional women's business. Deanne's recent artworks look at the colonial disruption of loss of family, culture, language, and traditional women's practices, and how this continues to impact Aboriginal women today. Most recently, Deanne was a contributor to the Art on Trans program as part of the Rising Festival in Melbourne. So when we're out and about again, look out for her beautiful work on a Melbourne tram. Introducing Deanne, thank you.
Gosh, thank you, Marianne, so much. Hi, everybody. As you all know, I'm Deanne. So I'm a proud Wadawurrung woman. I have to be conscious to look at the camera and not to everyone on the side. Sorry if my eyes go that way. It's kind of weird looking at the camera. So I'm just here to do a welcome to country, and I'd just like to thank you all for letting me have this opportunity, especially in COVID, with having all of my work, like so many others, just, you know, wiped for probably the next month actually. So so I am actually grateful for the time. So first I want to acknowledge my mum, Auntie Marlene Gilson, and my nan Rita Dalton, and my ancestors from Ballarat, King Billy and Queen Mary, and John Robinson. So that's why I'm here, you know, because of all of them, and all of the knowledge that's been passed down by them to me. And you know, we've just had NAIDOC week with Healing Country as the main theme, and you know, it's been so important. I guess without country we can't exist, and if we look at COVID, you know what, we're kind of at a really dangerous point, I think, in our history, where we have to be careful of our physical selves and also what we're doing to country as well. You know, it's kind of a scary place to be in, but I will try and be positive. Marianne knows what I'm like. I can be quite emotional. You know, I think I'm really passionate. I love people, I love life, and I love the country I'm on. So, so in language, I'm going to welcome you, and our word for hello, how are you, is Niawern Narik Dian, Wadawurrung Aktanuk, Mak Badian Wadawurrung Bagaruk, Monamith Mirambina, Nailinga Wadawurrung Beak, Karingarabu Bunjul, Wa Murip, Wa the Crow, Kimbaniba, our word for welcome, Deanne Gilson. So acknowledging my ancestors, past, present and emerging, and all First Nations elders that may be present on Zoom today, and their families as well, especially our shared boundaries, you know, over to Dja Dja Wurrung country and Wurundjeri and so on. You know, it's really important to acknowledge all the Kulin mobs. We're all connected right back through this history, and welcome you to country today. And I just want you all to have a great day, great conference online. I'm sure you've done many and you're probably sick of hearing about me, but I've got one little special thing if we've got time. I just want to show you. Oops, my glasses just fell on the floor. This is a little painting. It's called Niriam Turt Baram, and which means the morning star. I don't know if you guys, it's a bit hard with Zoom. I'm just looking at the box. So the Morning Star story is actually about hope. And I think that's what we pretty much all need, because we're all vulnerable. It's not just, you know, the story of First Nations people being really vulnerable in this country. So we're all in that space now where, you know, everybody's got to take care of everyone. And this is a story about Banjul, the eagle, who's our creator spirit, used to be a man before he turned himself into an eagle. And he's got 2 wives, Kunawara, the Black Swan sisters. And Kunawara is about to have the first baby on country. And so the morning star is about the sky knowledge and the brightest star in the sky. And when this star's out, you can actually see that's about hope and that for our children, and looking up to our ancestors in the sky. So, which I think we all do that when we've had a passing or a death. We look for the brightest star. And, you know, I used to always, when I was little, look for my nan in the sky and things like that. So it's just a beautiful story about hope. And I guess that's where I want to leave you guys. Just, you know, take care of each other, and welcome to Wadawurrung country, and have a great Zoom conference. And also thank you so much for allowing me the space too. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kimbali Pa. Thanks, Marianne.
Thanks so much for that, Deanne. That was beautiful. And I should have invited people to put on speaker view on your screen so that you could see more clearly what Deanne was holding up. I hope you got to see it well. I do just want to say, Deanne, that people can follow your work on Instagram. And we can pop that up in the chat, but I know as an avid follower that on Instagram you're called yam.daisy.studio.
Yeah. And I do also just have an Instagram now account just under my name too, Marianne. So Deanne Gilson. I do whinge a lot, guys. I'm a real person. I don't believe in the perfect package. I'm not there for to promote like a business or something. I'm a real person. I have my ups and downs, and as Marianne knows, I just lost my beautiful old dog, and I cried for days on end, and everyone on Instagram knew about it. If you're not too bored with reality, you know, follow, and I'll also follow people back to, it's the main thing I do to support, especially local business in Ballarat, and local organisations too, because, you know, we all live here and we're all in it together. So thank you, everyone. Thanks. I've probably taken up too much of your time. Thank you.
That was fabulous, Deanne. Thanks a million. We really appreciate it, and you take care. Love
yeah,
from
you too, everyone. I'll love yous and leave yous now. So have a great day. And stay warm. It's freezing.
I know. Okay. I know. It sure is. Bye-bye now. So that was a beautiful contribution from Deanne, as always. I just wanted to now make a reference to the fact that we are actually, you know, going to be talking and discussing the topic of family violence, not in the sense of prevention, but just a message of self-care, and to say, you know, that the number 1-800-RESPECT is one that you should keep close to you for yourself and for others, for confidential counselling and support. I'll move on now and welcome some particular guests that we have present today. Louise Staley, MP member for Ripon, who I think said shout out earlier, and also Anne Webster, the federal member for Mallee. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you. We also have a representative from Juliana Addison, the member for Wendouree, who wasn't able to be here, but Callista is here in her place. And we have a sincere apology from Jala Pulford, the state member for Western Victoria, who actually was part of the launch of the first CoRE plan back in 2016. So I guess I just wanted to give you a quick overview of, you know, where we've come from with CoRE, and how we've got to where we are now. So just over 5 years ago, as I say, in May 2016, we launched the very first CoRE plan. And it's fair to say the response to that far exceeded our expectations in terms of buy-in and commitment and sustained commitment. We now have more than 120 members of CoRE, and they're organisational members. So that accounts for a huge number of actual individuals who are part of those organisations. And they all now have a deeper understanding of the causes and the drivers of family violence and violence against women, and also of the sorts of actions that they can take and undertake to prevent this. Sadly, we still need this to happen. We've measured great progress within CoRE over the past 5 years and other strategies around Victoria, but the incidence of family violence is still alarming. And the data indicates that it has increased during COVID, which is even more concerning. We never expected that there would be no need for a CoRE strategy after 5 years. We always said it was a long-term endeavour, aiming for significant cultural shift. But I think recent data confirms that has to be the case. We're confident that the approach of CoRE is making a difference. CoRE has been recognised through award nominations and also by funding, although never enough funding. However, that has allowed us to undertake a significant body of work, and also to pilot or incubate several successful initiatives, such as the CoRE High Vis project, focused on women in non-traditional work areas, and active play and equality for all, which we'll touch on a bit later. As I'm speaking to you, the link for the new strategy should be dropped into your chat. So I really encourage you to get onto that and follow up and have a read. I'm not going to go through the whole plan page by page. It's a relatively short plan this time, but I'll leave you to undertake that once we finish today. But I did just want to highlight a couple of points about it. In developing this strategy, we began by evaluating the first one to really understand what was working well, what was missing, and what needs to be adjusted or modified to ensure that we're effective and making the most of this great collective impact potential that we have got. And I will take you through some key points, but I wanted to acknowledge some of the people who have helped to get us to this point. And one of those people is Alison Pipers, who has evaluated CoRE every year over the past 5 years and has also been the consultant for the new strategy. We drew on a panel of expertise to inform us in developing the new strategy, and the people who assisted us in that were, I'll name those people because we really appreciated their input. Catherine Adey from the Multicultural Centre for Women's Health, Helen Freris and Schwazik Brohan from Women with Disabilities Victoria, Dr. Jess Crofts from Sport and Recreation Victoria, Professor Sue Dyson from La Trobe University, Paddy Kinnersley, the CEO of Our Watch, Shelley Lillist from Ballarat and District Aboriginal Co-op, and Dr. Kathy Tischler from Federation University in Horsham. I'd also like to really acknowledge the input of the CoRE leadership group, who've been on board since the start of this whole strategy and plan. And they're listed on the slide that you can see now. They've been a great source of wisdom and support for myself and the Women's Health Grampians team over these last several years. And I know several of them are with us here today. So big shout out. I'll also draw your attention to the fact that in this second part of the strategy, we have had a refresh of the design, and we thank Adele Rosham from AR Graphic Design in Horsham for her work on the design. We think it looks great. So just moving on to the strategy itself, we still hold on to that vision for a safe, equal and respectful society for everyone. And a purpose around motivating and supporting organisations in the Grampians region to take action to promote gender equality as the key driver to address gender-based violence. There are 4 strategic directions with goals and objectives, and we'll take a deeper dive into some of these as this progresses. But just briefly, as I've mentioned before, CoRE has always been about cultural change, changing the attitudes and belief around violence and inequality. It's about systems change, so improving practices, policies and systems. It's about collective impact, so that's supporting collaboration and growing CoRE across the region, and knowledge transfer. So we need to act upon evidence. We need to know what's working well. We need to be sure of our data and our impact and share that across the membership of CoRE Alliance. The principles that underpin CoRE are primary prevention, which is about stopping violence before it occurs. That's what we're aiming for. Gender equity and gender transformative practice, intersectionality, cultural safety, collaboration, as I've mentioned, evidence-informed practice, sustainability and accountability. And as I said, we will be looking into particularly the aspects of intersectionality a little bit later on. So the new strategy, what is new? A lot of what I've just mentioned will resonate because it was in some form or another part of the previous plan. I guess what we've learned in a really deep way over the last 5 years is that it's not one size fits all. We can't have a generic approach to this. We have learned so much from people from diverse backgrounds and communities in the last 5 years that informs our thinking going forward. So our equality advocates, our colleagues in DELCJA, the Aboriginal Family Violence Action Group in our region, and many others have provided us with great wisdom to make sure that this strategy has a flexibility and adaptability to all sorts of circumstances. Something that is new as well is a recommitment process. So we're asking all existing CoRE members to recommit to CoRE. So it's like a refresh of that sign up. We've also set out some minimum requirements which our staff will support organisations to meet. We've also come up with the idea, well, actually being suggested to us and taken that up, of a CoRE Friends network. Up to now, it's been very much about organisational membership, but we have heard and taken on board the feedback that there's an opportunity for individuals to play a greater role in this work. So stay tuned, we'll be highlighting that as time goes on. So we thought for this launch that we would take a look at some of the particular settings where CoRE is really having an impact and can do a whole lot more. And Kate, my colleagues Rose Jury and Kate Diamond Keith will speak shortly about a couple of those settings. But firstly, I wanted to highlight the area of sport. So I think that you know, we've all seen great progress over the past 5 years in conjunction with CoRE around women's participation in sport. And that has allowed us as CoRE advocates and workers in this space to leverage opportunities to progress some of our work that leads to cultural change. And one of those is active play, which has led to connecting with a range of codes and clubs and to increase our knowledge in that space. We're really aware that sporting clubs play a big role in promoting cultures of respect, equality and safety. And sport actually does have a part to play in preventing violence against women at an individual level, and more broadly as clubs and leagues hold significant influence as workplaces and community hubs. Sport really can influence how society expects us to behave and has the potential to challenge the attitudes and behaviours that allow violence to occur. I'm delighted that we were able to be joined today by Gerald Richter. With an executive level career spanning over 20 years, Gerald is known as an innovator, a leader and an influencer. Gerald was an artist, an art arts festival curator and arts administrator prior to moving into a series of CEO roles in the not-for-profit sector and the government sectors. She was the CEO of EGHS and most recently the CEO of Basketball Australia. She's a fellow of the Australian Institute of Company Directors, a member of the Order of Australia, and Leadership Victoria Fellow. Her non-executive directorships and appointments include a director of the Western Bulldogs Football Club. She's a member of Champions for Change, the chair of the Stephanie Lake Dance Company. She's also a director of the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation and an advisor to the World Health Organization. She's committed to working with organizations that seek to improve the lives of communities. I'll hand over to you, Gerald. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Marianne, and it's wonderful to be here. Yeah, fantastic to have everybody online today. Even though Deanne has left, I do want to acknowledge her and particularly her Welcome to Country and that beautiful artwork about hope, the morning star. It was really beautiful to see that. I too also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respect. Respects to First Nation elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge members of Parliament, both federal and state. A big shout out to Women's Health Grampian CEO Marianne Hendren, my fellow speakers, other VIPs who are on the line, the 120 organisations who are part of CoRE and all of the attendees on Zoom today. And as I said, it's a delight to be here at the launch of this second Communities of Respect and Equality strategy. And I really want to extend my thanks to Women's Health Grampians for organising the event. Over email, Marianne and I have been reflecting that this work has come such a long way since my last connection with it, where I spoke to a room full of people in Sovereign Hill on a really, really hot night in November 2017. It feels just like a world away since that time. But forums like these are so valuable because they allow us to share our successes and celebrate our wins as we join together to find solutions to common problems. And it's so important to highlight the role organisations can play and continue to advance prevention of violence against women and gender equality in order to strengthen communities and reduce violence against women. As Marianne said, I've spent a lot of my career focusing on the area of prevention of violence against women and building gender equality through the work at Vic Health and more recently as the CEO of Basketball Australia, where I oversaw a transformation of the Women's National Basketball League, the development of the very first women and girls strategy and a diversity inclusion framework and action plan. I've been on the board of the Western Bulldogs and the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation for the past 3 years, and it's this work in gender equality and the prevention of violence against women that I'm really delighted to be speaking about today. We understand that in Australia, violence against women is highly prevalent and that women living in rural areas are more likely to experience family violence. We also know that societies with low levels of gender equality are likely to have higher levels of violence against women. And as Marianne said, sport is such a vehicle for change, and there have been great strides in terms of sports organisations taking a leadership role and setting the standards and culture of the code at every level. But sadly, we are still way behind in so many areas of sport. And I'll just name one, which is female leadership in sport. And when I joined Basketball Australia, there were 5 women leading organisations. There are now only 3 women CEOs out of nearly 100 national sports organisations. And it's this type of systems change that really needs to occur across Australia. As a nation, we want women and girls to see people like themselves in leadership positions in our major institutions and in male-dominated sectors, and sport is certainly one of those sectors, but we know that there are a range of others. At the Western Bulldogs, we believe you can't be what you can't see, and I will talk about how we are leading the way in gender equality and building programs to see people thrive regardless of gender. At the club, we are committed to creating a community in which girls grow up without gendered social norms that limit their schooling, careers or everyday life. In terms of industry leadership, the Western Bulldogs Football Club is really proud to have been a key driving force behind the establishment of the AFLW Football League, and we were one of 8 establishment teams in the inaugural 27 season. Key club personnel, past and present, including Peter Gordon, Susan Alberti, and our current General Manager of Women's Football, the absolute legend Debbie Lee, and numerous other men and women affiliated with the club were tireless advocates for the Women's League for over a decade. And the club was instrumental in delivering the first women's exhibition match at the MCG against Melbourne in 2013, for those of you that can remember it. And it was about the skill, the speed and the tenacity displayed through this match that was really that tipping point in the establishment of a women's league. And it is particularly important to recognise the women advocates, many of whom would have loved the chance to have played football at an elite level, but despite this opportunity passing them by, selflessly fought for equal opportunity for future generations of women. And this, of course, is a story relatable to gender equality advocates over the course of history. For those Bulldog fans, you will remember that we won the premiership in 2018 in the second year of the competition, a moment that is going to go down as one of the proudest in the club's history. The club is seen today as an industry leader in the delivery of AFLW matchday experiences that draw significant crowds and engage the diverse communities of the West. The importance of AFLW is reflected in the booming participation rates in girls and women's football across Victoria and Australia. And again, you can't be what you can't see, which is why this league is so important. In terms of governance, we have equal representation of women and men on the club and also the foundation. We're one of the few clubs to have a women president, Kylie Watson-Wheeler. We also have a local First Nation leader that you may know, who you can see there, Belinda Duarte, and a women chair of the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation Board, Gay Hamilton. In 2019, the club established a diversity and inclusion group that reports into the board via the club executive. And the group has had an initial focus on promoting an integrated approach to gender equality across the club. The Western Bulldogs Community Foundation, which I'm also on the board of, leverages the brand of the club and sport as a platform to drive positive social change. And gender equality is one of the 4 key pillars of social change that are prioritised across all community foundation programs. And that's alongside social inclusion, intercultural understanding and mental health. And what this means in practice is that gender equality is a key thread through all of our community programs, but it does look slightly different in each. And a couple of examples are ensuring that there are equal opportunity for men and women, girls and boys to participate in our programs, using gender programmatic approaches so the unique needs of men and women, boys and girls are met. For example, in the introduction of the Daughters of the West program in 2017 and Leaders of the Pack Girls program for Multicultural Youth in 2019. Youth Leadership Project participants choosing to undertake projects in their own local communities to promote gender equality. And some of those local examples include in Ballarat, a group of participants who are wanting to raise greater awareness of the importance of women playing footy, as there are some clubs in Ballarat who still don't have a women's team. And they are getting a series of videos from women who play football, hopefully an AFLW player and a few local footy clubs, men's players, to showcase in a presentation at their school. In Ararat, one of our participants has set up a support group for LGBTQIA+ members and allies, which will be once a week in store where they'll be able to hang out and get to know each other with food and conversation, etc. And in Beaufort, a group of participants are wanting to start up a girls' footy team and are promoting it through their school and community. At the club, we also deliver tailored gender equality education sessions delivered by different partner organisations to cater to the different experiences and perspectives of men and women. For example, Women's Health Grampians have been instrumental in delivering respectful relationships education in the Daughters of the West program in Ballarat. And while the Jesuit Social Services is currently rolling out the Man Box, which is a healthier masculinities education program as part of our Sons of the West program. The club has had numerous community events and advocacy in which it connects and takes a leading role. In addition to being a proud supporter of CoRE, the foundation is also a partner in the Western Regional Partnership, Preventing Violence Together, led by Women's Health West, and there are many, many more events that we participate in. And we all know it takes a range of organisations working in women's health, sport, the media, education, workplaces, local government, health services, and again sport to make great strides in tackling inequality. I want to congratulate all of the partners who have signed or re-signed with the Communities of Respect and Equality to implement the vision of a safe, equal and respectful society for everyone, where women and their children live free from gender-based violence and every person is valued, heard, respected and empowered. Once again, my warm congratulations and thank you for the opportunity of sharing the work of the Western Bulldogs Football Club and the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation today.
Thank you so much, Gerald, for those fabulous words, inspiring and really well complemented by the gorgeous photos that you provided for your slides that really bring it all to life. I was just really enjoying the vibrancy of those as you were speaking. And we very much appreciated the support of the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation for CoRE from the go-get, basically. So no question that we walk on the same path on this journey. Thank you. Now, I'm really proud to introduce our next speaker, an incredibly brave woman, Kim O'Reilly, who would describe herself as a family violence advocate and campaigner. Kim comes from Mildura, or lives in Mildura now, and has lived experience of intimate partner violence. And she's used her experiences as the basis to campaign against cultures that condone violence against women, particularly in the sporting club context. We're delighted to have Kim join us today, and I want you to give her, your full attention. Thank you, Kim.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to CoRE and all the speakers here today. I was assaulted by my partner in 2019. He was sentenced to 6 years and 2 years alcohol exclusion order. He was charged with intent to cause serious injury and many other charges. While I was in the hospital, his ex-partner before me came forward and also admitted that he had done it to her. So he was also being charged for her assaults as well. Having her come forward was really a push, as she was a netball player for a club that he also played for, where many people would have known that it was happening and no one reached out or supported her. My ex-partner, was bailed in June 2019. He broke bail 3 times within 5 weeks and went back in. Throughout that, 4 days later after being bailed, he was allowed to play for Dimboola Football Club. And he played 1 game. And after that, he received references from the president and many people at the club in regards to saying, into his charges, saying that he was, not... he didn't match those charges. It didn't seem that they believed that it happened after playing 1 game for this club. The president has admitted that they don't believe they need education and help to understand how this is quite offensive and quite hurtful to victims like myself. He believes that, the club was doing the right thing and that they don't have any at fault here. I guess it's a lack of education, a lack of understanding. And I think it's a very much silenced subject within sports due to male dominancy. And, it's just not very clear and I guess really pushed for. I think that it's come a long way since I started doing this, but it's still a long way to go. As Jerry said, I think we've got a long way to go. I've started a no violence tolerance policy, which was rolled out at the start of this year with a wonderful club called Moringa Football Club. Alf Davis and Kathy Hamdorf helped me implement it with that club. They signed it, no questions asked, and it was basically to cover no violence with children or women if someone's pending charges, that they are stood down for a minimum of 2 weeks until it's investigated. If they are charged, they are stood down from the club and the league. I believe that with violence within sports, there needs to be some sort of mandatory consequence, and that within the policy that I've put together, it's a 2 week minimum. I think people need to be held accountable, and for some reason, we protect the players that can play and kick a football, for example, but I don't think we support the women that are going through it, or people that are a part of the club and the committee that may need that help it's more that we protect someone that can kick a football and, you know, earns their $300 a week playing the game. I think, you know, this isn't just a football issue. I think this is definitely a community issue. But especially in rural areas, the sports industry has a massive impact on the community when it's a rural town. You know, the grand final every year is a massive day for everyone and for the town. It brings in a lot of money and helps support the community. I think that if you have players that aren't held accountable, then you have your under 10s or under 18s looking up to these people and, you know, monkey see, monkey do. I don't think that it's okay that we allow players to get a pass because they can kick a football. I think that it's very much not educated and not talked about enough, not followed up enough. So this policy that I've put together will be re-signed every year by clubs to register to be able to play within their sports, and that we have an education night or we have an educational video that will bring together, I guess, new information, new statistics, some new data information that will come forward. And it's to reassess, you know, you can sign up to be a white remit ambassador, but are you really doing the work to have the right to be an ambassador? And I think that comes with someone making a pledge and admitting that they need to re-educate and that they haven't been doing it well and that they are going to do it better from now on. I think that this policy is a non-negotiable. It's very black and white. And it's up to the club to say, hey, if you're not doing the right thing, you're not upholding our reputation, you're out. And I think it's a positive to stand up and say, we haven't been doing it right, so let's go forward and let's try and re-educate and let's try and bring some programs or some support systems into play. I've had many questions along the way from clubs that, you know, what happens if it's their best player? Or if it's your best player, then they probably shouldn't be playing for you. They shouldn't be put up on this pedestal where they're, you know, had crowds applauded to them every weekend, but, you know, off the field, then they're not doing the right thing. I think I have 3 nieces that are netballers that play for a club, and I want to make sure that in the future, my nieces are taken care of. With the young girl that came forward with my ex-partner, I want to make sure she's taken care of in the future. I don't think that as much as we support our players, we need to support the women within our clubs, and also the women and the families. If you're a family cultured club, then you need to make sure that you look after the families. It's a responsibility of the club. I believe I've got just the SFNL just to sign up to it. They've agreed, which is a wonderful thing. You know, my hometown, my club that I used to go to, they're all signed up for it. I also got the the Cricket Association for Sunraysia to sign up for it. It's something that I'm pushing for. I've been to Parliament to discuss it with Anthony Albanese, Don Farrell, Linda Burney, many other people, which is fantastic, and I'm going back there next month. It's just something that I think that needs to be looked at not as a negative but as a positive, that we're moving in the right direction, trying to fit things that in 2021 just isn't okay. And I think that, you know, we should have done it a long time ago. People should have been listened to, people should have been heard. But now that we're all getting together and trying to, I guess, get, you know, the same result, I think it's a really big positive thing that we're all coming together and trying to make a positive change within sports, because within Australia, our sports are our thing. So I think once we start fixing the sports, it'll trickle down into the communities, especially in the rural communities.
Thank you, Kim. That was fantastic. I just need to check that. Have you finished?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't interjecting. Look, that was amazing. I think I'm just watching the chat comments scroll through, and you might get a chance to have a look at those in a minute. But I think everyone here is just so struck by the power of what you've just shared with us. I think that, you know, the fact that you've been able to turn an adverse experience into an opportunity for really positive change is an absolute credit to you, and congratulations. That's just fantastic.
Thank you.
The code, we did share the code as you were speaking, and will be available on the chat. We'll link that through the chat. And there will be an opportunity to engage with you further in the Q&A session if you're able to stay around for that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Look, the next speaker, I think flows really well from what both Gerald and Kim have just shared. The next speaker is Scott Arnold, who's the president of the Minyip Matoa Football Netball Club. So one of those small clubs that, you know, Kim just referred to, that plays such a massive role in local communities. I'd like to acknowledge that Scott has stepped in to talk about the work of the Minyip Matoa Football Club at short notice. His mate, Tony Baker, who is a member of the CoRE leadership group, actually had a family bereavement and wasn't able to join us today, but Scott's very ably stepped into that. Scott's a self-employed farmer. He's married with 2 daughters, and they and his lovely wife Stacey are all involved in the football club. I think Scott's played about 300 games for the club, and is also a coach. So I'll hand over to you, Scott, to talk a bit about the Minyip Matoa Boroughs, Kookaburras, as a CoRE member. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marianne. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for everyone giving up their time today, and especially to the other speakers, Gerald and Kim, for doing the same. As Marianne said, I am filling in a bit at the last minute, but I'm really honoured to be able to speak at this event. It's I'll just give everyone a brief overview, I guess, of our club's CoRE journey, the positives and some of the challenges we've had, and obviously where we're hoping to get to within the future. So, excuse me. Like most football netball clubs in country Victoria, the boroughs see themselves as a family club that provides a safe place for people to engage in sport and social activities. Our strategic plan's up there now. Our mission states that Minyip Matoa is a fully inclusive football netball club that delivers all the benefits and values that sport brings. We instill quality values in our juniors, seniors, and all supporters through quality leadership. Ours is a safe, fun and friendly environment for people to enjoy sport and social interaction. One of our club values is caring for and including each other. When we introduced to the CoRE, it was a simple decision whether to get involved or not. As a club, we understand our role within the community and the impact it has on people. Once you start to understand the significance of domestic violence in the community, you can't sit back and accept the status quo. The statistics would suggest, and we're obviously not immune, that every club is likely to have had a victim or perpetrator within its community. And we believe we can't call ourselves a safe, inclusive family club if we don't take action against violence against women and children. So our CoRE journey at the boroughs began in 2018. Our first step was the CoRE induction. That opened our board's eyes to the problems. It's fair to say when the idea was first presented to the board, some of us may not fully have grasped the concept at first. There was some questions around why is this a club responsibility that's run by volunteers? Have we got enough time to worry about this? And some real concerns. But as we were engaged in the induction process, it clearly became more evident and we became more attuned to things in the media and the world around us. Incidents were happening in the AFL and at country clubs, and they highlighted to us the reasons why we should be involved and take this on board. The mentoring and training our board has received has allowed us to develop an action plan, and we're more confident in addressing difficult situations. I think Melissa might be online today. We're hoping to update our action plan in the next scheduled board meeting, COVID allowing. Since joining the CoRE and engaging in the process, we've as a club, we've seen some real positive outcomes. A few of those include we're definitely more proactive. We're definitely more likely to call out poor behaviour, and we do it more often. We're also more aware of our messages and the images we portray. We have challenged gender stereotypes at the club. I'm happy to on the feedback that I think Gerald might have said before, we're a board of 8 at the moment. We have four females and 4 males on our board. Our actual club leadership of the board is me and 3 other girls. So we've got a really strong role model there in the local community, which is great. Our club surveys have also been changed so we can receive the answers based on gender. So we're not just getting an overall club response to stuff, which has been really important. We're also more confident that we will make the right decisions if and when we're confronted with a bad issue or an issue, I guess. One thing that gives us the confidence in that is we know that we've got the support of the CoRE to guide us through issues, so we can go there for support when we need it. We also fully understand that we're not perfect and we do have a long way to go as a club. Some of the things we need to do, we need to make our program more visible to the public and our members. We need to provide more training to our board and members. I know we're hoping to get the bystander training done shortly as a whole board rather than individual training. We need to develop more internal champions and succession plans. We've been really lucky at the club that obviously Tony's on the CoRE leadership group has been a real driver of this. But to get that going, we really needed that. It's infiltrated the rest of us now and the culture of the club, but I can see other clubs having a struggle at the start without having a real champion at the club to take it on board. So we need to learn from experiences from other clubs, other people involved right throughout the industry. So obviously today's will be really valuable, and we hope as a club we can pass on our experiences to other clubs wanting to go through this journey that we have been and will continue on. We still want to encourage more women to take on leadership roles. We also need to find ways to make that easier for them, to continue to break down the stereotypes. As a club, we're also keen to influence our other clubs within our league and also our league as a whole to become involved. As a club, we're only early on our journey, and we clearly support the idea of recommitting to the new strategy. As a club, we believe we can influence the values and behaviours in our community to help prevent violence against women. We also know that it strengthens our club as people join us, the club of choice, because of the action we're prepared to take. Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you, Scott. I'm Rose Jury, and I am the Manager of Strategy and Programs here at Women's Health Grampians. And thank you, Scott, for your insight and your commitment and the unique perspective that you provide in terms of sporting clubs taking a stand and showing, kind of walking the talk really around your values and your responsibilities in your community. So thank you also to Kim for sharing, because I think you've kind of showed what this looks like on the ground and what how violence prevention happens everywhere, including our sporting clubs. So thank you to both of you. I'm now going to kind of switch a little bit away from sports, I'm afraid to say, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about CoRE and the Gender Equality Act. So one of the milestone events that happened since CoRE was first launched back in 2016 has been the Gender Equality Act. So in 2016, so this is the same year that the CoRE plan was introduced, the Royal Commission into Family Violence showed that Victoria needed to address gender inequality in order to reduce violence against women. And in response, the Victorian government released Safe and Strong, which was Victoria's first gender equality strategy. And the government also committed to legislation to promote gender equality. And in March 2021, so that's this year, obligations under the Gender Equality Act commenced. This landmark act acknowledges that gender equality, I'm not going to read this textbook, what not to do with a PowerPoint slide, but I will just touch on the fact that this act acknowledges that gender equality is a human right. It brings significant economic, social and health benefits, and it's a precondition for the prevention of violence against women. It's a shared responsibility. and gender inequality can be compounded by other forms of discrimination and disadvantage. So CoRE members who are health services, state government departments, local councils, water authorities and universities are all defined entities under the Act. And this now makes up over a quarter of all our CoRE members. Defined entities have obligations to take positive action to achieve workplace gender equality, both internally and in their interactions with the public. So for defined entities who are CoRE members, they've already been doing some of this work, and CoRE is the foundation for some of the obligations of the Act. So the new CoRE strategy aligns really firmly with the Gender Equality Act. The principles overlap, and indeed the principles are relevant to all our CoRE members. So this is one of the newer elements of the strategy, and indeed it's a really important objective going forward. One of the key parts of our program of work in this space is the Gender Equality Act advisors. So earlier this year, the Grampians Regional Health Services CEO network expressed an interest in how they could work together and share knowledge, expertise around how they might implement the Act. And one of the outcomes of that conversation was having two dedicated Gender Equality Act advisors who are now working with, based at Women's Health Grampians, and working with the defined entities that supported that approach. So that's 11 regional health services in our area and 2 local councils that signed up to work with our advisors, Jane Measday based in Ballarat and Claire Evans in the Horsham office. So basically the aim of that work is to streamline capacity building within and across the defined entities that have resourced this approach. The advisors are a short-term intensive resource that can lay the foundations for the Gender Equality Act obligations, and then the wraparound support and primary prevention infrastructure that Women's Health Grampians and CoRE provide really can embed that support going forward. Having said that, all our CoRE members who are defined entities receive support. CoRE continues to provide that local network of committed organisations, that local expertise and the training, tailored resources, presentations, communities of practice and regional consultant support that can really bring Gender Equality Act obligations to life and help you navigate progress really towards the milestones and deliverables and objectives of the legislation. Women's Health Grampians is also a proud partner in the Action for Gender Equality Partnership, which is one of the panel of providers approved by the Commission for Gender Equality in the public sector. So please do get in touch with me or your regional consultant if you're interested in finding out more about how we can support you and your organisation as a defined entity. I would now like to introduce you to our next speaker, Andrew Freeman. Andrew has a Bachelor of Business and an MBA. He is a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors and a member of both the Australian Society for Certified Practicing Accountants and the Australian College of Health Service Management. Andrew's worked in the Victorian public health system for over 25 years and is a strong advocate for rural and regional health. He's worked in a number of executive roles in rural and regional health over the past 16 years and is currently the Chief Executive of East Grampians Health Service, and prior to that was the Chief Executive of Djerriwarrh Health Services for 2.5 years. Before moving to rural Victoria, he spent almost 10 years at Monash Health in a number of different positions, and Andrew continues to be a loyal Carlton supporter Sorry, Cheryl. Andrew, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for that introduction, Rose. Much appreciated, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. East Grampian Health Service is a public health service with over 500 staff, and we understand we have a responsibility to be a community leader. We're committed to a safe, equal and respectful society for everyone, and we understand our role as a health service in living those values in our community. So how did East Grampian's Health Service get involved in CoRE? My organisation joined CoRE in August 2016 when we were early adopters. We're committed to the core vision of a safe, equal and respectful society. Since 2016, we have mapped our activity towards gender equality and developed actions to address inequality and improve outcomes. We've started the journey, and as a lot of presenters have already said, we know that there's a lot of work to do in this space still, and we certainly recognise that. Through CoRE, there is a network of services and organisations from the Grampians region that share a common language around gender equality, the prevention of violence against women, and calling out sexism and discrimination. We're lucky to have the expert advice and training that is provided by Women's Health Grampians, a local organisation that understands this region. And I think that that's really important to highlight that. We get some consistency with being able to work with Women's Health Grampians. They understand our region, they understand our people, they understand our communities. And I think that that's really, really important. At East Grampians Health Service, we identified that addressing intersectionality was a key priority, and have included this as an action in our strategic plan. We've engaged Women's Health Grampians equality advocates to speak to our executive and leadership team about their experiences of accessing health services. These presentations have been vitally important to help educate the executive and leadership team. The quality advocates also advise on the development of an e-learning module that's been included in all our staff inductions. We recognise that East Grampians Health Service, we need support with this work, and that's where we find Women's Health Grampians so important. So about the Gender Equality Act, has already come into place, and there's a lot of work to be done in this space. So the vision is that all Victorians live in a safe, equal society, have access to equal power, resources and opportunities, and are treated with dignity, respect and fairness. CoRE has given my organisation a strong focus on how we work to meet our obligations under the Gender Equality Act, and the CoRE work is now strengthened by this Act. Strengthening hospitals' response to family violence. Thank you for those presentations earlier, they were absolutely fantastic, very moving. Has also been a key focus of our health services, so that the response to family violence, so TRIV is the response and Gender Equality Act is the prevention work that we need to do. As prevention and response sit on a continuum, it can be a perceived overlap. Most often health services are asked to respond to episodes of ill health, life events and emergency with a focus on patients. This work is focusing on the staffing group and the workplace. This is a completely different mindset. It is asking the staff to become involved in moulding the workplace. The key question we'll be asking our staff is, what kind of workplace do you want to work in? And what improvements can we make to increase opportunities for everyone? A significant concept of the Gender Equality Act is intersectionality. People experience all kinds of discrimination based on their identities. These can overlap and create different kinds of inequality. For example, gender equality may be compounded by other forms of discrimination that a person may experience on the basis of their aboriginality, age, disability, gender identity, race, religion, sexual orientation, and other attributes. Defined entities like ours are requested to use an intersectionality lens in all their activities and report on their progress in this area. We're able to draw on the work we've done with Women Health Grampians to meet these obligations. East Grampians is not being measured against other health services or other defined entities. Rather, we're being asked to lead and participate in significant change to create an equal society. This is long-term systemic change. Anyone that thinks that this is going to happen sort of overnight, I think we're head in the sand. We're certainly taking the lens that this is going to take quite a period of time to do, but glad that the journey has begun. As Rose pointed out earlier, that the Grampians Regional Health Service did meet and put Gender Equality Act on the agenda as a priority. The decision to pool resources to engage a shared gender equality expert consultant has been invaluable outcome of those meetings. The Gender Equality Act advisors, auspiced by Women's Health Grampians, are providing support to a number of the public health services in our region, including ours. Jane Measday, who is our Gender Equality Advisor, is able to connect the people doing the Gender Equality Act work across the different organisations, assisting them to maintain momentum and focus. While we're all committed to the Vision 4 and the Gender Equality Act, this is a busy, high-pressure environment, and it would be so easy at this time with COVID and other things that we could push this to the back, but I'm pleased as a leader in the health field, and my other CEOs have made that decision that we can keep this work moving forward during this very, very busy time. Through Jane, learning, resources, knowledge and expertise is shared, built on, improved and made relevant to our local environment. I'd like to thank Marianne for her support in getting this position filled so quickly. I'm not sure if we, as a group of health services, had to go out, try to recruit, go through all of that, we would have been able to enact this so quickly. So again, Marianne and your team, well done on getting this up so quickly. The Commission provides comprehensive best practice workplace gender equality resources. What Jane's able to do is synthesise and signpost what we need to be doing when working closely with our identified staff members of our organisation. It is that extra capacity that is needed, working along services like ours as we build our capacity to meet the Act's obligations. So what's the vision for our organisation as we move forward? We would like to see equal number of men and women making decisions in our organisation. I am pleased I am appointed by a board, I report to the board. I'm really pleased that we have an equitable number of women, more women than men on the board. I report to a board, a female board chair, vice chair is a female as well. It's so refreshing to have that equity in numbers at that board level. So we're really committed in our organisation around that. Other parts of our vision is women, men and gender diverse people are in all areas of our health service. The voices of women, men and gender diverse people from a range of backgrounds are heard and respected. And violence against women does not exist, and gender equality does exist. So once again, thank you for the opportunity to present today. Thank you to the other presenters. I've found them really insightful, really enjoyed listening to you all, and look forward to working with all of you on the line on this journey around the Gender Equality Act as we move forward. Thanks very much, and I think it's now over to Kate.
Thank you, Andrew, for your great insights into your organisation's commitment to CoRE and the Gender Equality Act. I know you're a member that I've been working with over the last four years, and I know how committed your organisation and your staff are to this issue. So thank you for that. And thank you also for your definition and overview around intersectionality, because now I don't have to do that. So for those who don't know me, I'm Kate Diamond-Keith. I work at Women's Health Grampians. I'm the regional consultant for health promotion, and I'm also the lead for diversity and inclusion. So today I'm going to talk about the CoRE plan and our intersectional approach. Over the last 5 years, there's been a real focus on deepening our understanding of intersectionality and how this applies to the CoRE strategy and our CoRE members. We've been applying an intersectional lens to the work of CoRE through a variety of ways. I think, as previously has been mentioned, we have our Equality for All program, which is a group of diverse women with lived experience of discrimination and gender inequality, speaking publicly with our CoRE members about their experiences, and they also have a series of videos and podcasts. And Andrew spoke just previously about his organisation's interactions with our equality advocates and how much that supported them. We have an intersectionality guide, which is a resource for all CoRE members on how to apply an intersectional lens. We have a greater emphasis and information in our suite of training programs on intersectionality, as well as a dedicated intersectionality training session. We've included intersectionality in our core resources, such as the gender audit, and we have recently developed our Youth Equality for All program, which is focusing on the impact of COVID on the mental health and employment of young women. And we're going to hear next from Carissa and Ayak, who will speak about their experiences as youth equality advocates. Following on from the work over the last 5 years to deepen this focus on intersectionality, the new CoRE strategy launched today confirms our commitment and focus on this issue and confirms our support to CoRE members to apply an intersectional lens to their planning and action. So the new CoRE plan includes some really specific strategies around intersectionality, including addressing the intersectional nature of discrimination through cultural change, supporting Aboriginal-led prevention strategies, monitoring and responding to emerging issues impacting on gender equality and discrimination. And CoRE members will be guided by principles that include intersectionality and cultural safety, and outlines a commitment by CoRE members to applying an intersectional approach. I would now like to introduce Ayak and Carissa. They're Women's Health Grampians Youth Equality Advocates, who will be speaking about this program and their experiences. Carissa is a local young person based on Wathaurong country in Ballarat, and has been an active volunteer in her community for the past 5 years. This has been surrounding multiculturalism, gender empowerment, mental health, and advocating for young people to be at the forefront of decision making. Ayak is a local young woman based on Wathaurong country as well in Ballarat. She's currently studying at Federation University, completing her Bachelor in Community and Human Services. She has a strong passion for social justice and bringing about awareness in the multicultural community and more. So I'm going to hand over to Carissa, who's going to speak first, and then followed by Ayak.
Thanks, Kate. So yes, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining from Wathaurong country, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So my name's Carissa. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the Youth Equality Advocates. As Kate just mentioned, the Youth Equality for All project is focused on the highlighting of young women's lived experience during COVID-19 in relation to employment and mental health. So I saw the advertisement for the job because some friends tagged me in it on social media. I was apprehensive at first because I didn't feel like I was the right person, but that's probably part of the reason why the message of youth equality for all is needed. It was asking for a young woman comfortable with sharing her experiences from COVID-19. I'm exactly that, and I still didn't think I was qualified. I had prior experience in exploring and sharing things of multiculturalism and gender equality and the intersections of both through my time volunteering. So I had some background knowledge and experience before coming aboard the project, but through formal training at Women's Health Grampians, I learned more about the specifics of systemic inequalities and saw examples which really fueled my passion for gender equality and the driving of intersectionality to the forefront of conversations surrounding equality. Through this project, I was not only able to develop my knowledge and skills on a personal level, but I was also able to be a part of a campaign that represents me, not just because I'm in it, but because it's a story shared by so many that has representation from intersectional young women. One of the experiences I highlighted in the campaign was the ease of further self-isolation in lockdown. I found it extremely hard to seek help during that time, even with a lot of prior experience accessing mental health services. I isolated myself from my friends because it was easier not to talk to people, and I didn't really have the energy to put into those relationships when it didn't feel like they really existed. I think there was a bit of a misconception in that regard, where a lot of people thought that young people were really adept at connecting online, but being online all the time was really difficult. For me, usually social media and YouTube especially are a coping mechanism and a safe space. But because I was constantly exhausting it and I was taking in so much information regarding like human rights and stuff, it ended up making social media extremely harmful and unsafe. Luckily, through my work as a youth equality advocate, I've been able to explore issues like these and outline key actions that can be taken by CoRE members to support young women. I'd now like to pass on to Iyak.
Hi, my name is Iyak. Throughout the program that we have put together on sharing our experiences with, as Carissa has said, learning new strategies and new information that can really adapt to us, and that is great to know at the time for right now as well. Throughout my experience of living through COVID, it was an overwhelming experience, and even like me trying to break the cycle of the cultural cycles and social norms as well. From at the start of the year, I moved out from my parents' house to gain an independence, and that was kind of completely stopped because of COVID, and as well, it wasn't me trying to study as well as finding work wasn't like the best mixture through COVID as well. Majority of the time, I never really got a reply back from places, but finding out that Women's Health Grampians had an opportunity like this, which was shared to me by Carissa, thankfully, I finally found a place that I was comfortable in expressing myself and learning new things in an area that's actually safe as well for me, which wasn't a great experience in past employments. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd now like to present the video we made surrounding our experiences of seeking employment during lockdown, which was filmed and edited by Michelle Dunn. We also have another video surrounding mental health that won't be shown today, but both videos will be available on the Women's Health Grampians website.
Before COVID hit, I was motivated to find work and everything, just keep going, and then when it hit, everything just suddenly stopped. People who had vacancies available completely shut down.
I was searching online, but there weren't a lot of places that could be open, and then I realised that the only experience I had was in cafes, so I might have better luck there, but they're all closed as well, so there wasn't a lot that I could really lean into in order to get a job.
Employers having positions with traineeships can actually help a lot against that young person, like the experience to try to understand the role, starting as a stepping stone, you know, and try to increase.
I find that volunteering can lead me to a lot of other opportunities, but then I didn't have volunteering and I didn't have any means of getting a job. I just felt really frightened for my future.
With just part-time and and casual work, you're kind of on edge because of that.
A lot of my friends were being laid off their jobs because they were casual, but then we've all got rent to pay and stuff, so it does get a little bit difficult.
I had a support worker, and they helped me with employment and helping with writing up a resume, but it was kind of like delayed because of the whole pandemic, and as well, like at the end of it, she chose to withdraw from the program because she was volunteering. It was quite like an abrupt ending to it, but it was helpful at the time.
I need to know what I'm not doing right. What can I do? How can I improve my resume? How can I seem like a better, hopeful employee? I've been wanting to use my Chinese name more, but there are a lot of Chinese people that don't get jobs because of their name, and especially during COVID with all the Asian hate and stuff.
It's something that I shouldn't be hiding from an employer. I should be accepted as an applicant as equal as, for example, Deborah or something.
Taking the names off resumes, degendering it, I think that could be a good step forward in terms of like looking at people for what they've done as opposed to what identities they have.
My hopes for the future is just loving what I do, and I hope it actually does happen.
Thank you so much, Ayak and Carissa. Okay, I probably jumped in there a bit too soon, but yes, thanks so much for your presentations. Another, both of you, brave work and great courage to step up and speak out about things that I guess are really important to be said, but not always easy. So good on you, and I can only say that we're delighted to have you on board and privileged, and look forward to doing more work with you. I'd like to remind you that IEC and Carissa, part of their role is that they can be available. Part of our funding is to support them for a little period of time to speak to groups and organisations that may like to share some of those stories to get a better understanding of that experience of, being in that cycle of needing experience to get a job, and where do you get experience and volunteering and so on. It's really important knowledge for us all to have to help see our way through out of COVID. So look, I think there's been a tremendous amount of information come through today, and a lot to process and take away from this session. I really want to thank all our speakers, Gerald and Kim and Scott and Andrew and Ayak and Carissa, and to say that there will be gifts from normally at this point in the session, we would be bringing these baskets of whatever gifts up to the stage to present to our speakers, our panel. So we're doing that virtually today, and there will be gifts from our local area coming your way. We would invite you to drop any questions that you might have into the chat, which I'm now attempting to have a quick read of to keep across. But I'm not sure that I can see any, but I did just also want to say that we have dropped a number of useful links into the chat. but we'll also pull all this together comprehensively and have it on our website so that you can access it later. And let other people know who may not have been able to make it today that you can access the recording of the session, as well as some of the resources and so on that were mentioned on our website. So I'm wondering if anybody has anything they wanted to say or chip in at this point in time. If you would like to say anything, speak up. And thanks for all the wonderful feedback you've been giving us on this chat line. It's been tremendous. So if there aren't any pressing questions or comments, I'll finish up there and ask you to have a browse through the chat session, and certainly please get in touch with us if you've got anything you want to clarify about CoRE, or to follow up on with any of the presenters. We'd be very happy to facilitate that. It's been a fantastic journey up to now, and we really look forward to continuing this with you, and to, I guess, seeing progress in terms of this big piece of cultural change that we're working on. But really the input from all of you is so valuable in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne.